Welcome to Sensible Health Solutions, the show where we simplify health and wellness. Join your hosts, Hallie Fields and Dr. Scott Luper, as they share practical tips and expert insight to help you navigate common ailments, nutrition, and overall well-being. Tune in for straightforward advice that empowers you to live a healthier life.
Hey, Dr. Luper, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Good. Glad to hear. I wanted to pick your brain about a few things today involving sleep. I find myself not being able to get to bed and then also not feeling like I'm fully resting. And so I know from personal experience how important sleep is. And if I don't sleep well the night before, my day after is absolutely wrecked. But I just wanted to know from a medical standpoint, why is sleep so important?
Well, let me say that I'm glad you brought this question up. It's a common problem. Lots and lots of people have problem sleeping. They don't always have the same problem. They have different parts of sleep don't work, and I'll talk about that here in a moment. But it's a common problem, and it's probably the number one reason why people would be tired. So one of the things that I've been wanting to do is to do a series of these shows on fatigue and why people get tired. So there's lots of reasons why people get tired. Let me give you kind of a short list, kind of an overview of it. Sleep problems is the most common. The next one would be thyroid problems. I don't know if it's the next most common, but it's common. Another one would be problems with your adrenals. Adrenals give you your get up and go. They put stress hormones in your body. If those don't work right, you'll feel blah. Another one that's pretty common is people getting chronic infections that they don't even know about, kind of hidden or stealth infections. That's the classic reason for people getting chronic fatigue, is they have some sort of low-grade infection in their system. Let's go back to the sleep part of this thing. So the two main problems that come up with sleep is difficulty falling asleep. That's what you're getting, right?
Yeah, I lay in bed after, I settle myself down. I have a little bedtime routine that I do with my daughter. And after that's all said and done, I turn off the light and I lay awake for what feels like hours.
Yeah, a lot of that going around.
Yeah.
And the other one that comes up a lot is people who fall asleep fine, but they wake up at about 3 o'clock in the morning. My last patient I saw, just got done seeing a patient, it has exactly that problem. So what happens is you wake up at 3 a.m. and you have a hard time falling back asleep. We'll talk about that one too. The third one, which most people already know about, is if you don't have enough oxygen at night, and you'll get poor quality sleep and you'll feel tired in the morning, not because you didn't get enough sleep, so to speak, you were in bed long enough, but you just really never got very deep sleep because you get apnea. And so we'll talk about that one, the third one. But let's talk about your problem first, which is hard to fall asleep. Now, this one's kind of common sense, which is it's hard to fall asleep because I'm not tired yet.
Sure, yeah. I feel like I still have so much time in the day and there's so much I still want to do. I didn't get to my reading. I didn't get to my workout. I didn't get to my never-ending chore list. So at the end of my day, after I get my daughter to bed, I just have this second wind and this second spurt of motivation.
Yeah. Yeah, what this is? This is it's kind of just real life. I mean, you got things to do.
I know.
And so your body gears you up to do stuff, and how it does so is it releases stress hormones, neurotransmitters, kind of things that get you up and ready to go. And so when you lay down, all these alertness chemicals are in your system, and you have a really hard time. You and everybody who gets this has a hard time falling asleep. So the natural thing you want to do is just, it will take something, an herb or a medication or something.
Or melatonin.
That'll knock me out, or melatonin or something like that, that'll knock me out, then I can fall asleep. Yeah, it doesn't work. It sounds good in theory. It doesn't work. And here's the reason why it doesn't work. It's because nature wants you to be awake, and short of making you dopey, literally knocking you out,
right?
You're not going to fall asleep. Now there's hope here. There's a way to solve the problem, but you got to kind of work with your body's natural kind of regulation systems that it has already. So I'll tell you how to fix it here in a moment. Let me talk about the dope part first. Okay, you'd think if you took enough stuff that it could knock you out, and it can. You can take things like Ambien or Trazodone or, the valerian, which is an herb, or even just alcohol. I mean, you chug enough alcohol and you'll pass out.
Absolutely.
Okay, so why don't we use all of those things? The answer is we do. People routinely do, and they don't really work that well. You don't feel great. It looks like you're sleeping. If you were to take a good solid slug of Trazodone or tequila, and then somebody come in and look at you, they say, oh, you look like you're asleep, except for you're not really. You are partially asleep, but you're not very deeply asleep. What is there's levels to sleep. The level 1 is the lightest sleep there is. Level 2 is deeper. 3 is deeper yet. 4 is the deepest. And so with the medications and alcohol and things like that, even herbs for that matter, you drop down into level 2 sleep. If you get dopey, that's level 2 sleep is where the dope is.
When you're still awake, or
no, you are absolutely sleeping in a way, but you're not really doing restful sleep. You're doing this kind of
the body
halfway
isn't
sleep.
Doing the repair stage of the sleep.
Yeah. So you and I have talked about this before, which is there's the reason why you have to sleep to begin with, which is obvious here, which is your body is cleaning and repairing. And unless you go to sleep, the job doesn't get done.
Sure.
There's cells in your body, lots of them, that specialize in cleaning stuff and fixing stuff, and hormones that turn on at night while you're asleep, growth hormone being one of those. And for kids, it helps you grow. For adults, it helps you repair. And so for you to be able to park in the garage, so to speak, and have all the mechanics come and work on you, you got to be parked.
Yeah.
You can't be awake.
Sure. You can't be up doing your dishes at 10 o'clock at night.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
The image I have is I got a bunch of guys who work on me and fix my stuff. They're all dressed in overalls, Carhartts. They have tool belts and carrying saws and hammers and things, right? If I'm awake, they're all in the hallway, leaning against the walls, smoking cigarettes.
Eating donuts, smoking cigarettes.
Eating donuts, whatever, waiting for the job to start, right?
Yeah.
And then when I go to sleep, bam, now they're on the job, and they're doing whatever they're needing to do. So in spite of my wishes otherwise, I literally have to slow down to be able to fall asleep, to be able to repair. Now, when I was younger, I absolutely saw sleep as a waste of time. I mean, hours of my day are just lost to being productive. So my motto was, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Except for, I kind of started to die.
Yeah, you're burning the candle at both ends.
It was not good. Yeah, I learned the hard way. You can't do that. And so I really did a lot of research into sleep. What is this thing with sleep? What a stupid system. In nature, I was running around the woods, killing things and dragging it home.
You'd have to hunt, you'd have to gather, you'd have to prepare shelter.
I'm going to lay on the ground.
Camp. Yeah.
Under the trees for 8 hours. And what's going to stop anything from coming and eating me when I'm laying there?
Right.
Nothing, right? I guess I have to climb a tree and make a nest or something so I could get out of the way of the lions and tigers coming around, or find a cave, right?
Yeah.
And that's, it seems like a crazy thing to do. Like there would be some kind of evolutionary pressure against sleep. And it turns out there is. Lots of animals need less sleep than we do because they've learned to be alert better, longer, so they don't get eaten, right? And also to do their repair in less time. Giraffes, for example, sleep about 2 hours a day, and they do just fine on 2 hours a day. Some animals can actually shut off half their brain and still stay awake, and so they sleep half their body, and then they switch.
I need to figure out how to do that one. That one sounds useful.
Lots of birds can do that.
Yeah.
And dolphins can do that.
Okay.
So what a great trick, right?
So when does that come in for humans? When are we going to adapt?
In time, maybe.
Sure.
So in the meantime, the very best thing you can do to fall asleep better, the very best thing, better than anything else that's available, is to follow our nature, is to set a system up every night where you allow yourself to wind down.
Yeah.
Because you're going from up here to down here to asleep.
Right.
You got to do this wind down
So
thing.
there has to be de-escalation.
Right. Our understanding of this came from research into childhood insomnia.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to give their kids drugs to sleep. mean, reluctantly, but it would be much better if we could find some way to get kids to sleep without having to knock them out. So what the research did is they kind of analyzed sleep patterns, talked to lots of kids, watched lots of kids sleep, and what they figured out that the best system for kids is to have a wind down system where you do the same thing in the same order every night. And what it does is it kind of gives you cues, your brain cues to wind down. For example, you get your pajamas on, then you go brush your teeth, and then you get into bed and your parent reads you a story and gives you a kiss, and then bam, down you are.
Yeah, but what happens when you do have that system set up of, okay, cozy PJs, brush teeth, in bed reading a story, and then the de-escalation doesn't happen. They don't get into that state of, okay, it's time to rest.
It takes practice. I mean, It's not like we're going to do this thing, snap our fingers, and then everything's going to fall into place. No, there's a process you do. You get used to it. So again, let's say there was no problem. What would people do normally? What they do is they go from this to this to this to this to this. If you can set up the cues and know it's bedtime, then you fall asleep. Mm-hmm. So, it's modern times being what they are. There's TVs going on, there's sound going on, there's action going on, there's all lights, there's all kinds of stuff going on. So we don't get the cues we used to. It used to get dark. Mm-hmm. And there'd be a candle if we were lucky.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here where we are, it gets pretty dark pretty early.
Yeah. So it's going to take a while for our bodies to adapt to modern times, right? So what do we do in the meantime? So we do this wind down thing. We get rid of the screens. We get rid of the bright lights. We slow our lives down. We get our pajamas on. We start the wind down. So it's not just a matter of doing this action independent of everything else that's going on in the household. You want to slow the household down. Okay?
Okay.
Now, give me a sense of this. I used to go to bed at, 10 or 11, so between those two numbers, and fall asleep, and, it was like a normal life. And then I got a new kid, and my new kid has to go to bed at 8. Mm-hmm. Now, when he was a baby, it was like the different times, but now he's 8.
So?
And so he has an 8 o'clock bedtime. So I have an 8 o'clock bedtime.
Perfect.
Which is really weird because I'm not used to 8 o'clock bedtime, and yet I am now because we do the wind down.
Yeah.
And we, get the pajamas and in bed with the story. And my plan was always, I'm going to get up and go do something productive, except for, I don't think so. Maybe not tonight.
That's what I find myself doing. Yep.
It's amazing what you can get trained to do. I would have told you it wouldn't have been impossible. Mm-hmm. There's no way ever I could fall asleep at 8:30 because it's 8 o'clock is in bed, 8:30 is the story's done, and the kisses and everything else, and then bam, I'm down. Okay, let me review. The key thing to do here is do this wind down thing. The tricky part of this thing is the last step. Because you go from here to here to here to here to here, and then that last step is you go from, I'm tired, but I'm not asleep, to I'm asleep. There's a phase change right there. And how our body manages that phase change is as the wind down comes on, our body releases melatonin. Mm-hmm. Melatonin comes up. And as the melatonin's coming up and we're going down, it forms like a target, and we go through the phase change. We go from awake to asleep. That last little step, awake for to sleep, is made possible by melatonin. Now, let's speak about melatonin. Melatonin is a failed sleep aid.
Really?
It will not put you to sleep.
But everybody uses it so often.
It does. It really hardly does anything. It's a very, very, very poor sleep aid. There's way better stuff out there to knock you out the melatonin. Melatonin just won't. If you take melatonin, let's say you take a good solid slug of melatonin, 20 milligrams of melatonin, you take it down, drink some water, you could go clean your house. You could vacuum the floor, and you won't even be tired.
It won't even make you feel groggy?
No, zero, nothing. You don't, at least not me and not anybody I know, not anybody I ever work with. You do melatonin, and usually what people say is it doesn't help. I don't fall asleep with melatonin. It doesn't do anything, except it does if you do the setup right. Mm-hmm. If you're almost asleep, and that last little step as the melatonin's coming up and you're going down, boop, you go right into sleep. It is amazingly effective.
So what I
with the
hear
right
you
setup.
saying is it just opens a window for you to enter sleep.
Yes.
It's not the vehicle to sleep, but it is just a little window.
Yeah. It's like at the crossroads. It's the stoplight goes green.
Okay.
And you go boop.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're not going to go.
But you still
You'll
have
linger
to take the
idle
steps.
at the corner, right?
Yeah, you still have to take the steps, go down the road, do all of the wind down routine to get there.
Yeah, so just like you, the people who are listening to this and they're thinking, I have this problem. I have a hard time falling asleep. How do I do it? Let me review. What you do is, number one, set up a routine. You do the same things in the same order. Actually, step one. Let's get step one. Step one, set a bedtime. Mm-hmm. Let's say you want to fall asleep at 10 o'clock. Uh-huh. Then at 9 o'clock is when this starts. And the best way to start it is to drop all your responsibilities at 9 o'clock. Because you're carrying around lots of responsibilities, things you got to get done, bills to be paid, things to be cleaned or fixed or whatever. No, stop. Last hour of the day is a wind down. What I want you to do, the best way to think of it is, I want you to go on vacation.
Okay.
Every day.
Okay.
For an hour. At
To
the end
Hawaii?
of the day. Yeah, as long as you don't do anything.
Okay.
On this vacation. It's the
What
most boring-
about reading?
Well, yeah, it's a boring vacation. Reading's fine. Reading's relaxing. so-
Journaling?
that could be okay too, as long as you're not stirring stuff up. Mm-hmm. So you could, pray, or you can, think deep thoughts, or you can, just
Breathe.
whatever. Yeah, just anything you want, as long as it's not activating. It's a quiet thing to do. So it's helpful to, like the routine we talked about. You get your pajamas on, you brush your teeth, you fluff your pillow, you get into bed, you read some. Though it's super helpful to train your body, to let the melatonin release at the right time. So what we do is we screw on a training wheel on your life, right? Mm-hmm. That's called melatonin. Mm-hmm. So 20 minutes before you go to bed, you take 20 milligrams of melatonin, and then the melatonin surges beautifully, and you fall asleep. As long as you get the setup right, melatonin's fabulous. Okay?
Okay.
So what you want to do is get the setup, then get the transition to go. And the thing about the taking the hour off, it's super, super, super important for you to stay away from blue light.
Sure.
Blue light is activating. Blue light is the light that we see in the middle of the day. Mm-hmm. And it wakes us up. Mm-hmm. It stimulates our catecholamines. These are alertness hormones in our body to turn on. This is definitely a detriment if you're trying to wind down. This is definitely an asset if you're trying to feel better. Mm-hmm. So lots of times in the fall, people get blue. They get seasonal affective disorder. They get kind of, sad and tired and so on and so forth. And so it's helpful for those people to get a shot of blue light, usually in the morning, that could be in the afternoon, and they feel better for it. So that's blue light can be definitely an asset used in the right situation, but in this situation is definitely something that's working against us. Okay, so now let's talk about the next part of this, which is when you wake up at 3 a.m. What's that all about? Because it's weird, because when you wake up at 3 a.m., it's like you go bing and you're wide awake. I get this occasionally, so I know it very well. And it's strange because it's like it's time to get up, except for it's only 3 o'clock in the morning, it's 2:30 or 3:30 or 1:30, something like that. It's definitely too early to get up. And so it takes a while for you to wind back down, typically an hour or an hour and a half or 2 hours or maybe even 3 hours, depending on how awake you get in the middle of the night. And this is very common. Lots and lots of people get it. And so it's going to be very helpful to those people get it to understand why this is happening. The reason why they're getting this is because they're getting a hormone surge in the middle of the night. It's cortisol that's waking them up. Now, cortisol is a wake-up hormone. It's a hormone that wakes us up. It's the hormone that's released in the morning when it's time to get up. Now, sometimes it releases too early. It releases in the middle of the night. And the reason why is because cortisol does double duty. Not only does it wake you up, it also brings up your blood sugars. So if your blood sugars were low in the middle of the night, your brain doesn't like this. Your brain does more work at night than it does in the day. It burns more calories at night than it does in the day. It's very active at night, dreaming and doing all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
So cleaning itself, sorting out the things that you've learned and seen and
Well,
thought
I would
about.
think it'd be more active at night too, because we don't have exterior stimulation. It's just with itself.
Well, you don't know exactly why it's more active at night. Exactly. We just know it is. So if your blood sugars get low, your brain doesn't like that.
Okay.
And so it'll trigger your body to release cortisol to bring your blood sugars back up. And as your blood sugars come back up, so do you.
Yeah. And then you're up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Bing.
And you're
Right.
ready to go because your body is telling you it's ready to go.
Yeah, and there's no way you can get back to sleep. I've never found anything that'll get me back to sleep at that point. Once the cortisol levels come up, the best I can do is allow the cortisol to kind of run its course, to do what it's going to do, get reabsorbed and back into storage for use on another day, and then eventually I can fall back asleep. So the best thing for me to do is just not to stimulate my body so that I make more cortisol or so that my brain gets more activated. So the best thing for me to do is just to be peaceful. Sometimes I'll read. If I turn lights on, I tend to stay up later. The worst thing I can do is flip on the TV or get my phone out or start doing something like that.
Absolutely.
And then it just keeps me up longer. I just won't fall back asleep. People do that all the time. There is a treatment for this. The treatment is don't let your cortisol levels go up. How do you do that? By not letting your blood sugars go low.
So keeping diet consistent throughout the day, keeping blood sugar levels consistent throughout the day.
Yeah, you said the right things throughout the day. Because when we first figured this out about 15 years ago, what we found was the obvious thing is, well, just eat something before you go to bed. That way your blood sugars won't get low. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It doesn't do it. But if you eat a diet that keeps your blood sugars even for 2 days, I'm not exaggerating, 2 days you got to do this. It's the same diet you would be eating if you were on, if you had diabetes or if you had metabolic syndrome, where you're trying to balance your blood sugars. So if you stay on this diet for 2 days, then your blood sugars get even enough that they don't spike at night. The thing about blood sugars is once they go up, your body releases insulin or drives them down. Then they go down low enough, your body releases cortisol, drives them back up, or you just get hungry and you eat something and they go back up. And they heave up and down and up and down and up and down. This is what your blood sugar is doing all the time. So at nighttime, they just continue to heave up and down. There's momentum to the whole process, and so you wake up at night. This is classic. So if you want to fix it, you got to get rid of that heave. You got to bring it to where your blood sugars just kind of boat, and they don't turn on a dime. They don't just instantly go back to normal because there's this up and down thing. You got to balance the up and down thing. How long does it take? The quickest you can do it is about 2 days. Now, in the meantime,
That doesn't seem like too long of a time, though.
it's not that long. It's not like 2 months.
Right, no, and that's what I would have thought would be the period, or at least like a month.
It's interesting how long things take to do what they need to do,
Right.
don't they?
To reset the body to its
Yeah,
natural state.
I can't say exactly why this happens. It's just out of experience of watching people play it out. We've done this a zillion times. It helps a zillion people with this problem. There is a thing that you can take, and I have to be careful about this part because I'm not trying to peddle any kind of pills here. I really have no investment in any company that sells pills. And the money and pill, the thing it doesn't, I don't care about at all. But what I want the show to be is useful.
Right.
I want people listening to be able to have something that they could do while they're trying to figure this out, because I'm not giving anybody enough information to really figure this out. Like balance your blood sugars. Yeah, how do you do that, Dr. Luper? Well, that's another show.
Yeah, it is.
In our half an hour, right? We can't do everything that's known to man. But I'll throw a bone out to our listeners, you too, for that matter. And that is, you can take a thing called Cortisol Manager.
Okay.
It's a thing you could buy online.
Yeah.
It's made to help balance your cortisol. And it's got some herbs in it. It's got some other stuff like phosphatidylserine and things like that.
And would you take
Rhodiola.
that before going to bed
Yep.
or after waking?
Take that before you go to bed. And it'll keep your blood sugar, your cortisol levels from going up. Once the cortisol level's gone up, there's nothing to stop
Would it impede the cortisol levels from going up in the morning when they're supposed to?
Yes, if you take too much.
Okay.
So you don't want to take too much. So
Okay.
what's the right dose? Yeah, good question.
You got to figure it out.
Probably 2, maybe 3. Could be as little as 1. Could be as many as 5.
Wow, that's a lot of cortisol.
Yep, somewhere around there. So it'll take up some practice to figure it out. Start low, work your way up. Meanwhile, keep your blood sugars balanced, and this problem should go away. This should be good news for everybody who's listening.
Definitely. You're talking about too much cortisol. You did say that there was a third aspect.
That was the apnea. So
Yeah.
people who don't get enough oxygen at night because the back of their throat and the back of their tongue glue together because it's wet skin on wet skin and they tend to glue, and then you can't get air through it. So they have to wake up a little and kind of snort and get the air through and then breathe until it seals back up again. Now, the solution to this one is get a CPAP. No,
Yeah.
it's not easy to do.
Well,
you just can't buy it off the
No, it has to be like a sleep study and
Yeah.
it has to be prescribed.
Exactly. This is a doctor thing. You have to find a doctor. You have to partner with a doctor to be able to figure out this problem and get the right tool to help it.
Well, all of this should be partnered with a doctor, not just the apnea piece, but the cortisol piece, the routine piece, structuring your daily living. All of this should be done under the direction and help with a primary care provider.
Yeah, except for most primary care providers don't understand what I'm talking about. So here's the thing I'm hoping everybody gets out of this is that you're learning something about how things work. You can take this information to your doctor and ask questions. If you start asking questions to your doctor, you'll get a better doctor. Because now your doctor's engaged. You're thinking, oh, what a good question. I'm speaking for myself. If my patients start asking me questions, they get a better version of me. I'm now leaning in. I'm engaged. More of my brain's working on this thing. That's how it should be. Now, admittedly, not all doctors are up to this. If your doctor is threatened by these questions, you need a new doctor.
You gotta go shopping, yeah.
You want somebody who cares, somebody's got an open mind, somebody's willing to get to what's real about your problem. It's not like you have a shortage of trazodone and that is your problem. No, trazodone knocks you out. That's what it does. This is not the solution to your problem. There is another real solution underneath it. If you'll pause for a moment, think about how your body works, what the system is, then you could see into it and you can think, oh, I see what I need to do. I need to not have so much blue light shining in my eyes at night. I need to wind down and I need
What
to
would
take
you
a
say?
vacation.
Do you think blue light glasses are effective? I know this is kind of a side
Maybe.
tangent.
There's some in the right direction. I mean, I guess if you're absolutely, you have to keep your mind active and doing stuff. But at that point, I mean, when are you going to sleep? At some point you got to wind down.
Well, I'm thinking too, like in modern day, we are constantly taking in the blue light of the day, the blue light on our screens, the blue light everywhere. And so is there at a point where your body intakes too much blue light accumulatively throughout the day?
No.
Oh.
Blue light's lovely. It just helps us see things better. It just happens to be bright light, and the light of day has a fair amount of blue in it. The light in the evenings, the blue is filtered out because the sun is low in the sky. The light's going through more atmosphere, so the blue gets absorbed and the red goes through.
Okay.
So that's a signal for us that the day's coming to a close. It's time to shut it down. We're going to have to park so that the mechanics can start working on us, right? So that's the cue.
So the red light is the cue,
is a
for
cue
the downtime.
for the downtime.
So then would
part of the wind down.
red light therapy be something helpful?
Yes. Well, the red light therapy is turn off the bright lights.
Wonderful.
That little phone thing.
Just turn it off.
down.
Just put it away. Okay. I'm just trying to bargain here, but I think we're out of time today, Dr. Luper. Thank you so much for all of your insight.
Good. So I'm hoping that this is helpful, and I'm hoping it's not comprehensive. How could it be? We're only talking for a half an hour.
Right.
But I'm hoping that what we're doing is planting some seeds in our listeners' minds to investigate and to think about and to kind of, get into it, particularly if you get a good doctor that you can partner with and they can do like things, run tests or have ideas or something like that. You could really go far in living a better life. You can get a better version of yourself by leaning in on this thing. That's it. That's what we're shooting for right there.
Yep. And that's what we're doing. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Sensible Health Solutions. We hope you found today's discussion enlightening and packed with practical tips to enhance your wellness journey. Remember, small changes can lead to big results. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us bring you the best content possible. Stay connected with us on social media for more health insights and updates. You can find us at Sensible Health Solutions across all social platforms. Until next time, stay sensible and stay healthy. This content is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Seek medical advice from a healthcare professional for any medical conditions.